Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at an Echo CS2511T top handle chainsaw. The customer complaint is that it's not oiling properly. He also asked that while I have it on the bench, I do a quick once-over on it. So let's dig into this oiling system first and find out what's going on. I'm going to dump his tank out. And I guess I was thinking that I was going to save his oil. But what I really want to do is just filter out the contents of his oil tank so I can see if there's actually any schmutz in there or not. So dumping it out, you can see that on my slow-mo cam, there was a big wad of nastiness that came out of there, probably wood chips and stuff like that. I don't know if it's this saw because of the small filler hole, but this isn't the first time I've seen this, and it's not even the first time that I've made this video. I think I've done this before. We're just letting the oil filter through the screen and the funnel, and you can see all that schmutz down in there. Yeah, the knuckle draggers are hard at it on the other side of the shop again. All that noise was probably just them tightening down a spark plug or something like that. All right, so we found that we have two broken oil cap retainers in the tank. Is that another clue that, you know, trying to get oil in this tank is difficult? You know, when the cap hangs down to the side and the machine has debris on it, it's gonna, you know, if the cap touches that debris, it's gonna stick to the cap. And then when you put the cap back on the tank, it's gonna get washed around and end up in the tank. And there's quite a bit of debris in this tank. You know, the stuff that just poured out with the oil. And then all this stuff that I'm trying to remove with carb clean, I guess. Well, let's see what it looks like now. Much better. Let's pull the screen out of here and take a look at that. Now this saw has a real nice nylon mesh removable screen. You know, it's just plugged into the oil hose like any other screen would be. Look at all the dirt on there. Let's kind of blow that dirt off. But the other thing with this screen is that it's actually serviceable. The nylon mesh slides off the metal end, so you can clean this up nice and then blow the screen out or replace the screen. I suppose if you bought a couple, you could do this in the field if you had to. All you'd have to do is fish the hose out and put a new screen on it. The problem would be if there's already debris in the tank, it's just going to stick to that screen. You got to actually get the debris out. So one more flush. And is it pretty? Must be. All right. Let's go fishing and find that fuel hose or oil hose and get this strainer back on here. It's just long enough to come out the filler hole. Looks good. Now we're not going to put a new retainer on that cap, because I got a feeling it's just going to get broke off and be laying in the bottom of the tank. I'm going to top it off with bar oil. You know, it's easy to do on the bench with that small spout on that can. Not as easy if you're out in the field pouring it out of a gallon jug. All right, I suppose the next step should be to make sure there's fuel in this thing and start it up and see if it oils. Maybe that plug screen was all the problem was. He asked us to look it over, so I was just putting an eyeball on whether or not there was any water in the bottom of the tank and how clean the fuel filter looked. Now, if I was doing a full-blown diagnostic repair on this, I would have fished that filter out and pressurized the fuel line, checked for leaks and hoses, stuff like that. But we're not going to spend any extra money here. He asked us to look it over, and that's what we're doing. Spark arrestor screen. It's not plugged up. Well, the good news is that the oiler works just fine. The bad news is it should not have taken 14 pulls to start this saw. Now, he never complained about a starting issue, so I'm not sure what's going on there. The air filter, she's a bit dirty. It's a nylon mesh unit, so we're going to split it in half and just blow it out. Yeah, we don't want to get too carried away here. And every time I blow one of these out with air pressure, I always inspect it with a light and make sure I didn't damage it. Now, if you don't have compressed air, you can certainly wash this out. That looks good. It didn't damage anything. Snap it back together, and I'm going to blow the schmutz out of the air filter cover as well. All right, let's take a look at the spark plug. Well, that was kind of the long road to the spark plug, wasn't it? I guess I was just looking things over and I didn't see anything out of place. Before I remove a spark plug, I always like to blow the debris out from around the threads of the plug so nothing falls into the cylinder. Kind of a tight fit here, but no big deal. Now I want to look into the cylinder. I want to look at the condition of the cylinder. And I'm going to use this old camera. I think this is an older video because I've got a newer, nicer camera than this. And if you're yelling at the screen that you can't see what's going on in the camera and that my photographic skills stink, I get it. But the fact of the matter is, the boss lets me hang a camera over the bench, but he's not paying me to make videos. So we get what we get, and try and work with what we got and zoom in where we can. I will say that this is about a $50 inspection camera. You know, you can get it in Amazon, eBay, wherever. And it doesn't work bad. And it's also got the side camera feature. It doesn't have as nice of a picture as my newer camera. And it has a 10 millimeter or maybe even 8 millimeter head. And the new one that I have has got a 3.9 millimeter head. So I can get into smaller areas. The cylinder looked good. We don't have an issue there. And in fact, we can put a compression gauge on here and just see where it's at. We're going to pull on the cord until the needle stops rising. Buck and a half. We got 150 pounds of compression. That'll work. All right. I guess what we need to do is just put this thing back together and see how it runs. I'm putting the old spark plug back in. It just didn't look bad. And after I dropped it, you notice I inspected it to make sure I didn't close the gap on it. But if this thing starts and runs decent, then that's all I'm going to have for you on the Echo CS2511T top panel chainsaw that had a bunch of schmutz in the oil tank. Thanks for watching. Later.